Hi there and welcome to Planet Zoo. We're back in the Every Animal franchise zoo with a couple more animals for you today. Not quite as many as I'd normally do because there's some very big builds in today's episode. We do have some more exhibit animals that have come up as well though, so that is bolstering our numbers up a little bit. So we're starting today from the giant panda habitat we built last time and moving straight on to look at the new exhibit animals that I've put in. If you checked out last week's episode, behind the tortoise enclosure I'd put in this brand new facility here with exhibit boxes. Got a few new residents here. First is a Gila Monster. Not hard to spot this little one here, hiding in their burrow against the glass there. Brilliant feature that. I do love the little burrows that you get in the exhibit boxes. Next to Gila Monster is a golden poison frog. Finally found them hiding against the wall. Next is a spider, so look away now if you're not a fan of spiders. This is the Goliath Bird Eater. No doubt it's a Goliath and probably does eat birds, hence the name. If you're thinking that's it for exhibits, well, guess again. We're going through a bunch of them today. There's a few more to go through. These are all African species, so I've got a new area set up behind the Fusa habitat. Squeezed them in here with a bit of an African-themed exhibit space. First one up here, one of my favourite exhibit animals, the Giant Tiger Land Snail. I love the snails because occasionally, like here, you'll find them climbing up the glass wall like this. Just like the Great Escape, exactly what a snail would do. I find it so endearing. Reasons like that why I love Planet Zoo. Anyway, can't look at the snails all day. Let's move on to the next species, and this is the Goliath Frog. Certainly not difficult to miss this one, is it? Sat right there in the front. Big beastie that they are. Having a lazy day there. Although it's a frog, I'm guessing every day's a lazy day for them, hey? Anyway, the final exhibit animal gone in, completing that massive list of exhibit animals that all came up at the same time. We've got the Goliath Beetle, another easy one to locate at least. And yeah, not much movement in this one either. So that's a mountain of exhibit animals gone in. Oh, and it's raining again. It's been raining an awful lot in the game recently. We'll let it clear up, then take a look at the next actual habitat to go in. Much better. Next animal is the greater flamingo. These birds, well, I need a lot of them. There's 10 needed to meet the social requirements. Doesn't sound like a lot, maybe, but they're going to be reproducing like crazy, I reckon. In terms of where I'm going to put them, flamingos are a great species to work with, so I think they're going to be quite a draw for the crowds. So I think we put them right by the second entrance that we made a couple of weeks ago. There's tons of space left in the zoo as a whole, and since we're over halfway done now, I don't think we have to preserve the space quite so much as we have been. This whole section here does feel kind of ideal. It may be a tad too big, so I might put in some more facilities as well, make a feature out of that. Right, so here we go, flamingo habitat. My thoughts with this one, since it's going to be right up by the second entrance that I made, this could do with being more of a showstopper, something that draws the eyes from when the guests go into the zoo. Flamingos are great for this because they have a lot of water in their enclosure, so you can make kind of a lake, make it a feature lake. Another good thing with the flamingos, their bright colour, you can't hide the fact that that's going to draw the eye, definitely. They're also neutral to humans and they can't climb, so none of that big fencing needed or one-way barriers getting in the way. This is one of those few occasions I've been able to use the aquatic fencing in the build. I do adore the aquatic fencing, the metal one, and it's great for when you want to build something that the guests, they wouldn't be able to in the game, obviously, but you can imagine them leaning on this, and there's going to be no issue with the flamingos going to be that close to them. The area I've selected for the flamingos here is great as well because it means I can use the whole of this space and put that fencing all the way around the lake bit at least. Inside the enclosure, the hard shelter that I've put in here, I've gone with a pre-built one of my old pre-built ones that I made a while ago. This one, it's not in any particular style, but it's kind of a hard shelter building that I think zoos would have on hand for things like the flamingos. To be fair, this whole habitat is based off of a habitat I made for the flamingos in my city zoo. What can I say? I really like the style of that one, so it came to me naturally to build something quite similar for this. With the lake, there's an edging to the pool. This is to help the flamingos transition into the water because don't know if you've noticed, but the animation of the flamingos getting over rocks and stuff to get into water, it could do with a little bit of work in my opinion. The flamingos need a bit of a helping hand there. So I've got some steps going into the water. There's also a ledge that I've added in the lower step as well, and what I'm hoping they do, I'm hoping the flamingos will stand on this and gather together there on the water's edge. For the rockwork in the land section of this habitat, I've gone really heavy on the rockwork because the flamingos are very fussy and really don't like any vegetation in their enclosures. It's a shame really, that one. I've been to zoos before that have got flamingo habitats and quite a lot of them do have a fair amount of trees and plants and stuff, so it frustrates me sometimes when we can't replicate those things in game. I had plans with this enclosure with the barrier where I've got the vegetation border in there with it. I was going to put some of the little plants all the way around that as well. Alas, the flamingos really didn't like that idea, so I had to ditch it. Here's the final result. It's a big enclosure, quite a bit more space than they actually need, but all the babies they'll probably be having, that'll fill up quickly. This is a pergola type structure that I've made for the flamingos. Goes over the feeding enrichment station here. First time ever with a Planet Zoo animal. When you first put them in, there's no feeding enrichment option available. So yeah, I had to research first to get this in. I really did need this in though, it fits so well with that pergola. There's another one of those in the water with a mirror enrichment item on there. Encourage them to go over the water that side. Could really do with more plants in here, but the flamingos don't like it at all. We've got lots of rock work instead. The things we do to make them happy. What I do like is the flamingos will go right up to the barrier and take a poo. Of course, I'm recording. Of course they're going to do that, aren't they? I swear they know. But yeah, it's great they can get right up close there and they're not bothered at all by the guests, which was surprising. Maybe they'll get stressed when there's a few more guests around, but right now they're all pretty happy. You may have noticed with this enclosure, I've tagged in another little facilities area here. I've got some picnic tables and I've got a pop-up pip shop store. This is another blueprint of mine that I really like and it fitted in quite well at this spot. So yeah, we've got this in. One of my rare, highly detailed blueprints here. So a little bit of a kitchenette set up at the back and stuff. It's proving quite popular with the guests already, so maybe it's something I did need to put in. I'm too neglectful of the guest needs overall, aren't I? So next to this is another generic toilet, because they always need the toilets. I didn't have the space here to put any other facilities in, but I did put a couple of vending machines on the corner, just to tie this up nicely at the back here. So that's flamingos done. Time to move on, and a little scared about the next one we've got because, well, I've set myself a bit of a challenge for this one. Hang on, it's not a habitat. I forgot. We've got another exhibit animal, green iguana, and you guessed it, I've already put them in. So we'll take a quick look at that before we move on to the habitat animal next. So it is back to the tortoise enclosure for the final exhibit box in the little exhibit space I've set up back here. That's all the boxes done in here now, almost like I planned it. Right in the corner there. There we go, green iguana. Oh, really nice species there. Never placed one of these before, and I really like this one as well. Hopefully there's a bit of a break before we do more exhibits again though. A bit tired of doing them now. Time to truly move on to the next habitat. I'm guessing you saw what's coming up. We're doing the grey seal. Another one of the more complicated animals to build for because they have the deep diving requirement. That needs a lot of space. If we take a look at the habitat we did for the California sea lion, we went with 2 pools for this one, and yeah, that's quite a big space taken up there. for the grey seal, if I jump back to the area where I've got most of the European animals, there is a big space left here open. This whole section, if I move that staff path back, that's at the back there, I think this will work. Grey seal habitat, for the initial preparation for this one, I didn't record it because it was such a pain. I mentioned the last episode, or maybe the episode before, about how I tend to build deep water pools above ground. I've rarely made habitats that have below ground viewing areas for the deep water bits, so thought I'd challenge myself on this one to do one. We had a lot of space to play with back here, so it was a perfect opportunity to try something out. I think my issue is that when I'm trying something out that's relatively new to me, I get a little bit nervous when I hit that record button because I'm conscious. Speed building, at the best of times, to me personally, it's not all that interesting. Before this series, I very rarely did a speed build because I just didn't think people would be interested in it. Turns out some of you do really like the process of seeing how something is built. So I'm nothing but obliging, but I do have my limits. Figuring out the pathwork of this below ground bit, it was frustrating me a little bit, and having it recording at the same time was distracting me a bit too much. So hopefully you don't mind that you didn't get to see me mess with the pathing and the terrain tool for about an hour. I established the groundwork first, and then I hit record when I had more of an idea of what the heck I was doing. The biggest problem with the concept of a below ground viewing area like this is it's to do with, first off, it's the pathing. The pathing, I don't care how long you've been playing Planet Zoo, how an expert you are, everybody is rubbish with the path. Even when you know the concept of how it works, it still throws curveballs at you on the regular. With this section, I was building this path off of a grid. The path to the side of it was on a grid, great. So all I had to do was click the work with the grid and then make the path go down, whatnot. Well, game has other ideas. The other problem with this is getting the barrier really close to the path. There's some coding going on with that, I know, but it's just so difficult. With an underwater viewing bit, you don't want the barrier to be miles away from the path. It kind of defeats the object of having it down there. As you can see, I did get there in the end. Got the path and the barrier to sit nicely in a position that I was relatively happy with. Alas, I can't see me doing many more of these in this zoo at least, just because of the frustration of trying to build it. Anyway, I think that is definitely enough said about underwater viewing area. I challenged myself to build one and I managed it. How successful this is, I'm willing to leave that up to your own judgment there. I did my best with it without wanting to throw the PC out the window. The rest of the grey seal habitat build was really simple. It was so nice. I think when you've worked on something for a while that was a bit of trouble and a bit of a pain, it makes the rest of the process feel so much easier. To be fair, the hard shelter for the grey seal enclosure is another one that I've built before. I made a little tweaks here or there to fit it into the space, but it was nice to just put something in that was already done. I think I did default back to my roots a little bit with this build, and yeah, you guessed it, I went back to the breeze block and the concrete blocks. It feels like that fits in a bit more with an animal like the grey seal. I don't know why, but I get the impression that if this was a realistic build, you'd want something that was structurally sound, like concrete, to be the basis for this one. Whilst that's true for the deep water pool, I could have been a bit more creative and gone with different materials for the fencing and for the hard shelter and stuff. But I don't know, it felt weird to change up and do something different that might have clashed a little too much with the style. So apologies for those of you who really don't like it, but yeah, we've got concrete in again. In terms of the terrain for this build, it's basically all sand and rock. Grey seals definitely don't like the grass. They're also a little fussy about the plants. To be fair, I can understand this one because grey seals, you're going to find them in the ocean and they'll come into land, I guess, to chill on the beaches and the rocks there. So I'm not going to be mad at the game for that one. My cold, hard, concrete style, I guess it kind of works with less plants as well. The little feature walls that I've got around the side of the deep water viewing area, now that's not part of the enclosure, so I was able to be a bit more free with the planting on that side. I think that makes up for the fact that there's really not much in the enclosure itself. Adding more to these feature walls, it helps with the space, I'm sure, to brighten it up a little bit, because it was looking a bit too concretey back there. I think that's a word I just made up. Concretey. Plastic Swans dictionary of things. Anyway, let's take a look at the seals in their new home. All the pain, all the effort to make this, I hope it was worth it. We filled a big space putting the grey seals in, so I'm hoping this brings the guests around to this corner of the zoo a little more. Grey seals, I'm sure they should have a good appeal for the zoo. I have to say, they're one of the funnest species to just sit and watch. It's just so funny how they move about. Boingy, 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 boingy. When they go over to deep dive, that'll be really fun to see them do that. So guest viewing, there's a big glass fence at the front here so the guests can watch them when they're on land. And the aforementioned underground viewing area in the deep dive section. This took so long to get right, but I really like it, what I came up with in the end. Like I say, some might think this is a bit harsh with all the concrete around, but I quite like that style, I'll be honest. And here we go. This is the view we've been waiting for. Grey seal deep diving, giving them loads of room to get on with this. There's way more deep water in here than they need. It's about double what they need currently, just to give them that room to do some of these maneuvers like that. If we go up the stairs here, I have left viewing areas up here as well, just in case some of the guests come around this way and they don't attempt to go down the stairs. You can see the seals over the little fence here as well. Zooming out, I am glad this worked out, and the retaining walls, they fit in well with the rest of the Europe theme, so it is tying this habitat back into the section of the zoo we've been working on here. Bit of activity on the floating platform. I'm glad that's working. Sometimes I've been guilty of putting them in and the water's not deep enough, or I've not left enough room on the sides for them to be able to jump onto it. Oh, and first guests using the underwater viewing section. Stopping on the stairs though. Fair enough. I guess if that's what you want to do. Seems a bit dangerous to me, that. But I'm glad you're enjoying the view. I hope you appreciate how much time this took me to give you this view. You'd best be leaving big donations in the bin for this one. Oh dear. Bit of clipping with the wall there. Concrete in your face. Definitely have to fix that one. Right, so that's grey seals done. Join me next time for hopefully more habitat action and less of the exhibit boxes going in. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.